I don't believe in attachment styles, at least not in the way they are usually explained. Because most of the time, what you call avoidant or anxious is actually something completely else. Now, you have probably been told you have an attachment style, right? Anxious, avoidant, disorganized. You've been told that those labels define how you love, right? But what if there is something else pulling the strings? Something that has been invisible to you, invisible until watching this video. Hi, my name is Mateusz. I'm a hypnotherapist and a coach, and for the last 8 years, I have been helping people rewire their subconscious, heal their nervous systems, and show up differently in love. But I also almost lost my own marriage of 12 years. I had anxious tendencies, avoidant tendencies, and almost no emotional fitness. My wife and I separated. We lost twins in miscarriage. We moved countries, lost jobs, and were drowning in pain. I labeled myself and her with all the attachment style names. But that wasn't the truth. What saved me, what saved us, was realizing this. There are 3 things you need to look at before you ever label yourself anxious or avoidant. 3 steps that can save you years of confusion and a lot of suffering. The first thing, it's not your attachment style, it's your rules. Every one of us has rules for love, often invisible ones. I first learned this from Tony Robbins, who said, your happiness in relationships comes down to whether your rules are met or broken. And when you don't even know what your rules are, you end up in chaos. Think about it. Many people labeled anxious have rules like this. If you love me, you stay close. If you are upset, it is my responsibility to change your state. If I care about you, I have to immediately intervene when you're struggling. And people labeled avoidant often have opposite rules. Rules like, if you love me, you give me space. If you're upset, you should figure it out on your own. If you care about me, you'll let me handle things in my own way. Now imagine 2 people with those opposite rules trying to love each other. Instant explosion. One interprets closeness as love, the other interprets space as love. The anxious partner says, why won't you come closer if you care? The avoidant partner says, why won't you give me space if you care? They both think the other one doesn't love them, but the truth is, it's not about love at all. It's about rules. I had these rules myself. I used to believe that if someone I loved was in pain, it was my job to fix it immediately. But the moment I tried to fix, it felt like control to my wife. So the harder I tried, the more she pulled away. And for years I thought this was anxious versus avoidant, but really it was my rules versus her rules. Now here is your first action step. Before you ever call yourself anxious or avoidant, ask yourself this. What are my rules for love? Write them down, make them visible. And then, if the rules are suffocating you or your partner, start changing them. Oh, by the way, if this is hitting home, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Here is why. Every week I share tools that go beneath the labels, that help you stop circling in panic and start leading with clarity. Therapy might give you a label. This channel helps you change the pattern. Now let's go one step deeper, because sometimes it's not about the rules at all. Sometimes it is your dysregulated nervous system. And the dysregulation usually comes from life hitting harder than you were probably ready for. Maybe you have gone through a trauma, like losing a child, a job, or a relationship, and your body never fully came back to baseline. Maybe you have carried stress for so long that alert has become your default state. Or maybe, like in my own story, you went through layers of loss, moving countries, financial collapse, miscarriage, and suddenly the anxiety wasn't a style, it was your nervous system in survival mode, screaming for safety any way it could find it. This is why people confuse attachment with regulation. Your partner might not be avoidant, she might just be overwhelmed. You might not be anxious, you might just be running on a system that doesn't know how to slow down anymore. In her book, How to Be the Love You Seek, Nicole LePera describes 4 nervous system patterns that often get mistaken for attachment styles: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And if you are in fight mode, she calls it a rupture. You look for conflict, you pick fights, you explode the moment you feel unsafe. Not because you're avoidant or anxious, but because fighting feels like safety to your body. Maybe you grew up in a home where yelling was the only way to be heard. So your nervous system decided that conflict equals survival. So now, when tension rises, you don't wait, you don't breathe, you attack. Because that's the only way your body knows how to feel safe. If you are in flight mode, that's the distractor. You run from feelings by staying busy, overworking or numbing yourself with food, sex, or scrolling. You bury yourself in projects, hobbies, or distractions, convincing yourself you are being productive when really you are just escaping. Again, not avoidant, just fleeing from a body that feels unsafe sitting still. If you are in freeze mode, that's the detacher. You shut down, dissociate, and leave your body even though you're still physically present. You go blank. Your partner feels abandoned, but really you are stuck in a freeze response. It's like your whole system goes into hibernation, not because you don't care, but because your nervous system thinks shutting down is the only way to survive the overload. And if you are in a fawn mode, that's the pleaser. I used to be that one. You say yes when you want to say no. You smooth things over. You try to manage everyone else's emotions so you don't have to feel your own discomfort. That looks anxious on surface, but really it's your nervous system stuck on hypervigilant autopilot, scanning for danger and trying to neutralize everything by sacrificing yourself. Now let me give you a personal example. Years ago, after I confessed to my wife that I had cheated and used porn, I expected her to hold space for me somehow. But she was already overwhelmed with work, with grief, with life. And when she pulled away, I labeled her avoidant. I told myself she couldn't connect. But in reality, she was overloaded. I had just dropped a mountain of emotion on top of her, already full plate. She wasn't avoidant, she was drowning. And me, after we lost the twins, I started panicking, clinging, spiraling. I thought I had become anxious, but it wasn't an attachment style. It was trauma. It was my nervous system screaming, unable to cope. This is why labeling yourself or your partner anxious or avoidant can be dangerous. You stop seeing the real cause. You stop seeing the overwhelmed human being right in front of you. Here is your second action step. Instead of diagnosing yourself with an attachment style, pause and ask, what mode am I in right now? Am I fighting, fleeing, freezing, or fawning? Notice it without judgment. And then ask, how can I guide myself back into connector mode? Connector mode is when your nervous system feels safe, grounded, and open. It's when you can hold space for differences without collapsing, where you can set boundaries without shame, where love feels possible again. That's the state where real intimacy happens. That's the state where healing begins. And there is still a third layer. Sometimes it's not your rules. Sometimes it's not your nervous system. It's simply your design. Let me explain. In human design, I'm what's called a two-line, the hermit. That means I need space, deep space, time alone, away from everyone, even the people I love the most. It's not personal, it's not rejection, it's literally how I am built. But for years, I didn't know this. So when my body unconsciously needed that solitude, I would push people away harshly. I'd get cold, snappy, even mean. Not because I stopped loving them, but because I hadn't learned how to consciously honor my own design. Think about how often this plays out in relationships. One partner needs space to recharge but doesn't have the awareness or language to say it. Instead, they shut down, withdraw, or lash out. The other partner sees the withdrawal and interprets it as rejection, abandonment, or a lack of love. Suddenly, they are both labeling each other. You're avoidant, you're anxious, but underneath the labels, it's simply one person's natural rhythm for connection and solitude, clashing with the other's need for closeness and reassurance. Here is your third action step. Learn your design. Learn your partners. Because sometimes what you think is avoidance, it's just a natural rhythm of needing solitude. Sometimes what you think is clinginess is really a rhythm of needing connection. The problem isn't the design itself. The problem is being unconscious of it, not knowing how to communicate it, and letting the misunderstanding create distance where there doesn't need to be any. Now, let's zoom out, shall we? Do you see the pattern? You don't have an attachment style. You have rules you didn't know you made. You have a nervous system reacting to overwhelm. You have a design that either needs space or connection. And when you mistake those things for a permanent label, anxious, avoidant, and so on, you create unnecessary suffering. Let's come back to this clearly. Before you ever label yourself anxious or avoidant, check three things. First, your rules. Because if your rules for love are unconscious, they will destroy you faster than any style. Second, your nervous system. Because what looks like avoidance might just be overload. What looks like anxiety might just be fawning. And when you regulate, love becomes possible again. And third, your design. Because sometimes it's not trauma, it's not dysfunction, it's simply how you are built. And honoring that consciously can literally save your relationship. This is why my marriage survived. When Maya and I went through loss, through betrayal, through collapse, it wasn't attachment labels that saved us. It was learning our rules. It was learning to regulate. It was honoring our design. And this is why I tell you, you don't have just your attachment style. You have also these three things. And if you want to start rewiring at the root, calming your nervous system and showing up as the secure person your family needs, click the link in the description of this video. Join the Love Leaders community and start my Panic to Peace 6-day protocol for free. It's the fastest way to go from spiraling in labels to embodying real security. Your marriage, your relationship, your peace of mind might feel like it's slipping through your fingers, right? But you are not doomed to be anxious. You are not doomed to be avoidant. Those labels don't define you. You can change your rules. You can regulate your nervous system. You can honor your design if you know it. Talking won't save you. Labels won't save you, but rewiring will. And your time to do it is right now.